Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. Today, we look at Eugene Mitchell's book, Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. Now, let's go into today's podcast and talk about how to close the wealth gap.
He lists for us 3 key stumbling blocks to us creating wealth. The first one is information that is omitted. So basically in this chapter, he's looking at how insurance is often, he looks at this throughout the entire presentation of what we're going to talk about today, but really how insurance is normally presented to us as African Americans. And so one of the things he talks about is how the image that has been created for us of what health insurance is good for is just good for burying Big Mama. Right, so that's the image that he's saying. Look, when you look at the commercials, when the agent comes to your home, when you get that flyer or the mailer in the mail, and it is designed to go at the black community, what they're saying is, look, Big Mama wants to go out in style. You know she wants to go out in style. Or if you're Big Mama, you're like, look, these fools ain't got no money. They gonna send me out of some raggedy casket. So I want to buy this life insurance policy to make sure that when I go out with a bang. And so you get an insurance policy to ensure that you go out in style, or that you can bury Big Mama in a stylish casket and have all of the trimmings so she can look a doll while she's going on into the grave. And he's saying, you know what? Hooray for what we want to do for our elders. Yes, they deserve to go out with a bang. Yes, they deserve to go out in style. But if the only thing we can do is afford to bury Big Mama, and if the only thing you want to do if you're Big Mama is have a good burial, and you don't care what happens to your family once you're in that grave, and I can't say the words I would like to say, but shame on you. And shame on us for not thinking beyond the grave. But what Eugene wants us to understand is that some of that is a thought that has been given to us as though the only thing that matters is this bang or this great funeral where everyone gets to come and to celebrate you. And then once you're gone, your income and your hard work, it goes with you. And the people that are left are suffering and have to fend for themselves, especially if you're a key person in the family that helps the family navigate some of the financial things that they have. So he wants us to be thinking a little bit past that, but part of that is information omitted. What he says is when the insurance agent comes to us, a lot of the times they don't give us the full facts and the full description of what's at stake and what we can actually do. They don't create that vision. So like when they're talking to us about the stock market, they create a vision for us of how our money can multiply, how our money can work beyond what we could do with it our own self, how we can invest in other companies and we can help grow that company. And also as that company grows, we can help grow ourselves. They create this image of you building something and creating something. But when we get presented with life insurance, this idea of building, this idea of sustaining, this idea of being fruitful, this idea of multiplying, this idea of advancing and pushing and strengthening and fortifying is often not given to us. So that when we look at life insurance, the only thing we can think about is the loss of life and not the extension or expanding or the building or the fortifying of the lives that are still here. So what Eugene is saying is, look, part of what we need to do is we need to change our thinking and our understanding about why we should and how we can use life insurance. So not just to bury our loved ones, or not just to make sure that we go out in style and looking good. We want to make sure that the people we leave behind are able to not just sustain themselves, but are positioned in a way that they can advance themselves. So he's saying, look, we need to change our thinking. So he says, look, some of it's our fault, but some of it is not our fault. Again, I'll repeat that, because of the way we have been presented with life insurance. So let me read this paragraph for you. This is on page 38, and he says, look, because of this, we see ongoing, non-stop begging to bury in our communities, relying on the latest crowdfunding platforms like GoFundMe, where strangers are asked to make online contributions to a family's funeral costs. This has simply it's simply an advanced mechanism for us to gather emergency funding. However, the fundamental cause is the same: poor planning for anticipated and unexpected expenses. And so what he's talking about is, look, really part of why a lot of us think, I can't afford this, I can't do this. What if I get the policy and then after 2 years, I can't afford to pay the premium anymore, and I cannot get back the money that I have put into this policy over the last 2 years. So I'll just keep my money in my pocket. But what Eugene is saying is, look, that is poor planning. And if you plan properly, if you save properly, if you manage and steward your money properly, you can afford to make this investment, right? You can afford to make this investment. Just like you sacrifice for anything else, just like you would save for anything else, just like you would discipline yourself and portion off a piece to take that vacation, or to buy that car, or to buy the new phone, or to buy those new shoes, those new J's that are coming out. He's saying, look, you can do this, but it takes some planning and it takes some preparation, right? And so he's saying, look, the same type of mentality that goes into a family being in the position to have to crowdfund, to bury their loved one, is the same type of poor planning that puts us in a position not to be able to afford the life insurance that we need to be able to sustain our families long after we have gone on. So I want to ask you today, go ahead and rate yourself, and let's just be honest. Where would you put yourself on a planning? Have you planned well? And I'm not just talking about planning for death, but I'm talking about, have you planned in general? Do you have a vision for your family? Do you have a vision for your finances? Do you have a plan for your finances? Now, I want to ask you, not just do you have a plan for your finances, but are you executing the game plan? Now, come on now, let's be honest. I've done this myself, where I've put together a really, really solid plan. I sit down, I'm looking at the numbers, I see what's coming in, I see what's got to go out, I got this goal, I got this vision of what I want to do, and then I got this plan, and I'm like, yes, we're going to put this plan into action, and then all of a sudden, opportunity comes. All of a sudden, the deal of a lifetime comes. All of a sudden, somebody comes up with a great idea. All of a sudden, somebody's feeling sad, or somebody's feeling unappreciated, and they need to spend some money to feel a certain way, or to purchase something to validate themselves, or to reward themselves for the hard work and the excellence. And then something like that happens inside of your plan, and you start feeling like that. Man, I work all hard and I don't reward myself. Everybody else is going on these trips. Everybody else is buying these new clothes. Everybody else is getting the latest phone. Everyone else is buying new cars, and I need to do the same thing. And then all of a sudden, the plan that you wrote down, the plan that you're supposed to execute to build this wealth, to be successful, to stabilize your family, to advance your family, as you men, come on brothers, you men out there, to cover your family, to protect your family, all of a sudden the deal of a lifetime comes through. And all of that vision, to write the vision, make it plain, all of that hard work you did, all of that strategy that you put in goes out the window with one phone call. So it's not just enough to make a plan, but you have to execute a plan. And what Eugene is saying is, look, if we would just make a plan, If we would just say, you know what, this life insurance is a priority. This life insurance, I may not be able to buy stocks. I may not even know how to buy stock. I may not have any clue on how to do this, but I do know how to go down to that insurance company. I do know how to hop online and go to the website and get with a reputable company and see what policies they have. And I know how to fill out the registration, and I know how to meet with that person. I know how to do those things. Let me do those things, and then let me just see how much it costs. And then after that, I see how much it costs. Let me then put together a solid plan. Let me sit down and let me make sure that I can make this premium every month, because it is worth it. It is viable to my family. Some of you need to be thinking about this. Some of you don't have a savings. Some of you haven't invested in stock. Some of you don't have a 401k. Now you're 35. Now you're 40. You know that retirement is right around the corner, and you know for a fact that when you retire, your home is not going to be paid off. Your student loans are not going to be paid off. The business loan that you have taken out won't be paid off. You know for a fact that those things are not going to be covered by the money that you're going to make between here and then. And if you know that for a fact, you need to understand that not just because something happened to you before that time arrives, but something will happen to you possibly, well, something eventually is going to happen to you from a life standpoint after that. And your family will have to manage the things that you have made yourself and them responsible for. So the responsible thing to do is to make sure that you can continue to provide, to protect, to cover long after you're gone. And so he wants us to say that, look, it's a planning thing. So don't say that you can't. Say that I can and I will find a way to do this, right?
Thank you for joining us for this discussion of Closing the Racial Wealth Gap, a book by Eugene Mitchell. We want to hear from you. Contact us at #PastorJD03 or #JD03podcast. We want you to join this great discussion. Again, thank you for joining us on Pastor JD03, the podcast. We look forward to having great discussions with you.